Note instead of the check, his confidence shattered. He opened it, and the words inside stopped him cold. The restaurant was silent the moment he walked in. Polished shoes clicked against the marble floor, a tailored suit glinting beneath golden lights. Everyone knew who he was, a man whose fortune was so vast that his presence bent the air in the room. A billionaire CEO. He spoke with a voice that carried authority, sharp and dismissive, as he ordered the most expensive steak on the menu. Across from him, a waitress approached quietly. She wore her uniform with dignity, but her eyes carried a weight the CEO would never notice, until she placed the plate in front of him and with it, a folded note. For a heartbeat, the room held still. The CEO frowned, his arrogance faltering. He opened the note, expecting some clumsy request for a tip. Instead, his breath caught. The words inside pierced through the armor of his wealth. I know who you are, and I know what you've forgotten. The waitress's hidden story. Her name was Angela. To the world, she was just another waitress, moving silently between tables, carrying trays heavier than they looked. But behind her calm smile was a story written in sacrifice. Years earlier, Angela had worn a different uniform, camouflage instead of cotton, combat boots instead of flats. She had served overseas, carrying not just the weight of her gear, but the memories of friends who never came home. Nights were filled with the echo of helicopters, the smell of sand and smoke, the sharp fear of not knowing if tomorrow would arrive. When she returned, the parades had ended, the flags were folded away, and life did not wait for her. She took the first job she could find, blending into the world that had already moved on. Every plate she carried reminded her of the silence of those no longer here. And then, one night, she recognized him, the CEO who once gave speeches on stages about patriotism and sacrifice, yet whose company quietly withdrew promised support from veterans like her. Tension in the room. Angela's hand did not tremble as she slipped the note onto his table. Around her, customers continued eating, their silence heavy. They noticed, but none spoke. Wealth commanded respect here, and she was invisible. The CEO glanced around, searching for control. His pride swelled, but his pulse quickened. The note was not a threat, it was a mirror, and in it he saw a truth he had buried beneath layers of luxury. He looked up at her, expecting fear. Instead, Angela's eyes met his with unshakable calm. She said nothing, but her silence roared louder than any words. For the first time in years, the CEO felt small. He remembered standing at a podium, promising support, swearing honor. He remembered veterans lined up, trusting him. He remembered how quickly the promises faded once profits were at risk. And now, here she was, the embodiment of those forgotten vows, serving him dinner with quiet dignity. The turning point. The CEO folded the note slowly, hands trembling. He could not buy his way out of this moment. He could not command silence. Angela turned away, continuing her work as if nothing had happened. That was her power, the strength to carry on without demanding recognition. But the CEO could not carry on. He rose from his seat, his voice softer than anyone had ever heard. Some wounds are invisible, he whispered, more to himself than to her, and they never heal without honor. In that moment, the entire restaurant seemed to pause. Diners looked between the billionaire and the waitress, feeling the weight of unspoken truth. The CEO reached into his pocket, not for money, but for a pen. On the back of the note, he wrote one line: "It will never be forgotten again." He left the steak untouched. He walked out quietly, his steps no longer echoing with arrogance but with humility. Angela watched him leave. She did not need thanks, she did not need recognition. Her silent dignity was the loudest voice in the room. Iconic closing reflection. True power is not found in wealth, the narrator's voice lingers, but in silent strength, in sacrifice unspoken, in dignity that never bows. The crowd of diners remained still, each carrying home the image of a waitress who had reminded a billionaire of his forgotten promises. And so, the story ends, not with applause, but with respect. Respect runs deeper than riches. Silent heroes walk among us every day, carrying battles we cannot see. If this story touched you, share where you're watching from. Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more stories that honor the quiet strength of those who sacrifice most.